Welcome back to another episode of the Mind Poppers podcast with your host, Adam O Reilly, reporting live from the Mind Poppers basement. So let's get straight into it. I want to give you a follow-up on what we were talking about last time, the mysterious messages that I've been getting on these dating apps, and where has it gone so far. Since I put up the podcast last week, talking about my experience, if you don't know what I'm talking about, just listen to the start to the last episode. We talk about these mysterious messages that I've been getting from this mysterious person account. We don't know who it is, although we have a theory. And I've been getting these messages, from 10 separate accounts, all using the same picture that seem to be targeting me in particular. So when I put out this podcast last week, some people got in touch with me in regards to this mystery person. Someone messaged me on Instagram and said, OMG, just listening to your podcast, and I 100% have had a conversation with this blank profile person. I legit got the pictures and recognized the person, and then saw them on Instagram saying that someone was using their pictures on Grindr, so I blocked, but this was after maybe 15 minutes of decent conversation. Thankfully, I haven't had the same thing happen to you over and over again. I replied, OMG, what did he look like? And boom. It was the picture that has been haunting me for the last couple of weeks. That dead-eyed blonde... I shouldn't read, because in case this person actually is, someone is using this person as a catfish. So this blonde, blue-eyed person, the same picture that I've been seeing that's haunted me for the last couple of weeks, has haunted me. So I didn't really know what to do, with this information. I told this person who'd sent me in the message that, I'm not actually sure. And like I said in the last podcast, I'm not sure if that person, because like I said, this person, so I'm using in quotations, the real person, had been posting on their socials that, someone's using my account, or no, someone is using my pictures. Someone's using my pictures and sending them back then to my socials. Which, something didn't smell right to me. And I said that in the last episode. Something just didn't smell right to me. And I'll tell you why. I'll explain it again, because I am friends, I guess, with, in the quotations, the real person on Snapchat. So I guess the logic that the real person is using is that the catfish who's been targeting me is providing the links to the real person's social media. I guess that is the string of what they're saying, basically. Now, like I said, I don't know if there is a real and a fake person. I think it's the one person. And it gets more interesting. Anyway, like I said, I had contacted the real person on Snapchat, and I was like, you need to stop harassing me. And then this person was like, what? And I would explain to them that I've been getting, these messages from the fake profiles, constantly, like every second day. And I was like, I'm getting tired of it, it's lost its appeal, whatever. I'm just like, stop, okay? It's no big deal. Just stop. The person wrote back and was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I would certainly never harass you. And said, someone been using my pictures on the different dating apps and then sending them back to my socials. And you know why I didn't believe it? And I still don't know. It's sketchy to me because, right, if I was catfishing someone... if someone was using my pictures, and I got that message being, you need to stop harassing me, whatever, and I was in, the full knowledge that someone was, using my pictures and doing this, like I said last week, I'd be like, okay, I need you to send me all the screenshots you have, all the pictures that you were using, everything, because, as someone who's going to be, stealing my identity or whatever, I want to, see the language the person uses. I want to see the way they write. I want to see the way they spell. I want to pick up on any little traces that I can to link it back to the real person. Because you best believe if someone is out there harassing people using my photos, I'm going to get to the bottom of it. That is something that is going to pique my interest. I'm going to get to the bottom of it. This person didn't want any of that. They didn't ask for the receipts. They didn't ask for the pictures, the messages. They didn't even ask what we were talking about. All things to me, as a rational person, I would want all that. I would want to know what they're saying, how much they're saying they're me, how much they know about me, what are they saying to you. Of course, if someone's using your image and out there posing as you, you're going to want to know every single thing you can. You're going to want to build a file on that person, None of that. Just sorry. I certainly never would harass you. And that's all I got, And to me, something wasn't adding up. Something wasn't adding up. you know, because this person was so nonchalant, like, oh my God, it's happening. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. No, that is not a rational thing, okay? No one is that unbothered by someone stealing their identity, okay? So that is why I've always been like, something ain't right. So I got a second message on Instagram from a girl whose friend had been going out with a guy before. And she sent me a picture of the guy or whatever. The picture of the guy, because remember I said last week that I've been like being harassed by this account, these fake 10 accounts, okay? That new account every day. Fake account, and all using the same pictures of this blonde guy. With the exception of the original account that started harassing me. Used a different picture of a guy with dark hair, great body, like I said. You can go back and listen to the last episode if you want to hear more about that. But like I said, so completely different. And that's why I never linked these two kind of accounts together. I never linked, I mean, I was suspicious for sure with this first account, the guy with the dark hair. And then the further 10 accounts, the guy that reason the blonde hair. So this girl, right, contacted me on Instagram, sent me a picture of this guy. And she said that she had found out that when this guy had started going out with her friend, that what he had done was created like several of these fake accounts, like something that's like happening to me right now, and would use these fake accounts to talk to guys and get to know guys and get to know everything about them, the personal life, what have you, and keep building this information bank on the people that they're talking to. And then as themselves, using their own account and their real image or whatever, would go and pursue the guy that they wanted to go out with or have sex with or bang or what have you. And they use the information that they've built up on the fake accounts to be able to manipulate these guys into like falling for them quicker, or, being more at ease, feeling more comfortable, being like talked into, whatever, because you're obviously going to feel like, you have like this immediate, like amazing connection with someone. Unbeknownst to you, this person has actually been talking to you and been gathering your information, your secrets, your dreams, your hopes, whatever, and now is using and weaponizing that against you to get what they want out of you, sexually wise, what have you, or even if it is just to pursue a relationship. Obviously, it is fucked up. It is fucked in the head. So I'm like, is it this person? Is it this person, who's been gathering information up on me? Or else am I just like completely being like, oh my God, like, is there someone out there who will go to the trouble, harass me for weeks, really just to get to know me that much? I don't think so. But the mystery, I don't know where it's leading. I don't know if I'm ever going to get to the bottom of it. So again, over the weekend, I was contacted again by the fake account. Okay. So talking away, again, it was a blank profile. And as I suspected, boom, picture of the blonde guy. Different picture this time. But a picture of the blonde guy nonetheless. Same guy. I was like, oh, sweet Lord, not you again. But I had to pursue this in a more investigative approach. So instead of just like having the normal back and forth like I would with this fake account that's been harassing me for weeks, now what I wanted to do was talk like I was already talking to this person. I was talking to the real person, because like I said, I had become friends with them on Snapchat. So now I was like, I'm gonna call the person Joe, just for legal reasons. I'm gonna call the person Joe. So obviously this fake account had written to me, where you were using the image of Joe or whatever. And like I said, like I still think that the Joe fake account and the Joe real account, I believe that they're the same person. I believe it's real Joe, on these fake accounts. But I was writing back to fake Joe, kind of pretending all along that I've been talking to real Joe. So when I got the message, I was like, why are you writing to me on this? I was like, why haven't you opened my Snapchat? Or, I was saying like, oh, what was what did you say, was the TV show that you were watching the other day that you told me to watch? Making it out like I was having these real conversations with real Joe and acting as if I thought that fake Joe was real Joe, and I knew that they wasn't. And I could tell that I caught the fake Joe by surprise. He was kind of like, he didn't really know what to say. He was giving very vague answers because, again, he didn't want to contradict anything that I guess either real Joe may have said that he doesn't know, or if they're the same person, which I believe that is the case, they're kind of like, okay, well, what the fuck is going on here? I'm clearly getting, some sort of punked or whatever. So I had continued the conversation on for maybe 15 minutes, acting as if I'd been talking to the real Joe, and I'm like, oh my God, I know that you're the real Joe too, kind of a thing, if that makes sense. Account deletes itself. All the messages disappear, okay? Within, I guess, an hour of this account deleting itself, now a new profile appeared on the dating apps with this person's, okay? So it was Joe again, right? Except Joe now wasn't a blank profile anymore. Joe was using the 2 photos that he had sent me of the blonde guy, of blonde Joe. He was now using the 2 photos, and for, just for all appearances, it looked like just a normal real account. So there was just Joe suddenly after all of this, and I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it at all, and I'm kind of at the place now where I'm like, do I contact the person on Snapchat again? Maybe ask them, because I would really want to contact the people on Snapchat and ask them, would they be interested in talking to me on the podcast about, I want to get real Joe on the podcast and see what he has to say. And then I guess a part of me is apprehensive about that because where I stand right now, I believe that fake Joe and real Joe are the same person. So I'm kind of stuck now. I haven't received any messages in the last couple of days from the fake account because I guess now they're at an impasse where they don't really know what to do. And again, I'm none the wiser because I still can't find any concrete evidence that fake Joe and real Joe are the same person. It's just my gut intuition. So I'm kind of debating now whether or not I just bite the bullet and see if I can get real, and I guess I say real in quotations, real Joe on the podcast. In saying that though, if I do extend the invitation to, in quotations, real Joe to come on the podcast and, help me get to the bottom of this, then real Joe is also going to listen to the podcast and hear all the information and all the theories that I've collected on him so far, which, is going to be quite offensive if this poor kid is being catfished. But it will also, if this person is the master manipulator that I think that they are, it will, jeopardize my entire investigation, So I don't really know what my next move in this mystery is yet. I really don't know. In other news, moving away from the harassment and what have you, it was my birthday yesterday. And if you're like me, birthdays can often be an epicenter for great pain. Like, let's just not beat around the bush, for great fucking pain. Because for me, like, birthdays, it's always like, it is that one day a year where we just put like tremendous pressure on ourselves. It just feels like birthdays for me just feel like such a pressure cooker because, the day of your birthday, you're obviously that year older, and there's just a lot of pressure in terms of, for me, it's a time of like great introspection and, resentment, because it kind of forces you to look at your life and where you are now on your path and your journey. I hate the word journey, but it kind of makes you question, like, am I where I thought I'd be at the age of 26, at the wee old age of 26? Am I where I thought I'd be at 26? Do I feel fulfilled? Am I getting joy of where I am in my life right now? I'm not. And it's just this whole thing. It just makes you question, like, did I think I'd be here now? Do I feel fulfilled by my career? Do I feel like I'm on the path right now where it will take me to a point where I will be fulfilled by my career? Does it bring me any joy? And that is just something that I'm trying to like just ask myself right now on everything. Because again, on your birthday, of course, you're going to look at your love life. You're going to look at your relationship, the person that you have in your life, your significant other, or your lack of a significant other, your sex life, your lack of a sex life, what have you. And you're going to ask yourself, is this what I want? At the age of whatever age you turn, you're like, do I feel like I'm on the right track now with my sex life, with my romantic life? Do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel like I'm in love? Have I met my soulmate? Am I just wasting my time? All these different pursuits. And on your birthday, you question, right, is this, am I where I thought I'd be? Am I where I should be? And a big thing for me this year in the whole reflection of the birthday is asking myself, in regards to all things across the board, does it bring me joy? Does it bring me joy? Okay, because I've potentially, unless I do the cryogenic freezing thing, if that technology kind of advances in the next, couple of decades, I could potentially be right now through 1/4 of my life. 25% of my life could already be over. And that's it. Turn off the microphone. 25% of my life could be, already over. Oh my God. I'm drawing a blank. It's just that's it's just that statement. 25% of my life is already over. 25% of my life is already over. And I'm at the point now where I have to ask, right, for the rest 75% of my life coming, I have to ask, does this bring me joy? Does this bring me joy? I mean, like, surely, if I've only 75% of my life left to live, like, surely it is my own responsibility, my duty to myself to fill it with things that only bring me joy. Otherwise, what's the point? What is the point of filling what little life you have with things that make you miserable? Honestly, I'm asking because I don't got the answers. Because there's plenty of misery here. Another thing for me with birthdays is, a lot of people will be like, oh, Adam, I bet you love your birthday. I bet you love being the center of attention, just for one day of the year, waking up and being the center of attention. No, absolutely not. It is something that has never brought me joy. And I can look back, on my childhood, and I don't look back fondly with these, like, memories of, like, birthdays. I don't. I had birthday parties for sure, just like everybody else, unless you're Jehovah's Witness. But I don't look back to those memories and feel any great feeling of joy or nostalgia. I really, really don't. Birthdays, as long as I can remember, have always been something, negative to me. That's something that has, been a source of deep pain. And this whole, like, center of attention thing, no. You wake up one day a year for doing nothing, and you're the center of attention for being born. That is like a medal of participation, and I don't want a medal of participation. Okay, being the center of the attention is something you work for. You work for the center of the attention. You walk into that room and you command it. You look every eye in that bitch sitting around the table, and they have to, like, unanimously agree that they are going to make you the center of attention. You can't just walk in being the center of attention. Being the center of attention, it is something that is bestowed upon you by the others there could be 99 other people in the room, you guys, So being the center of attention, it means nothing when it's handed to you on a silver platter. It means absolutely nothing, Like getting an Oscar. It's like being the center of attention is like getting an Oscar, you guys, An Oscar means nothing if it's just handed to you. You win an Oscar, You win center of attention, So this whole, like, oh, I bet you love being the center of attention on your birthday. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Being the center of attention is something you work for. You walk into a room, you have a hilarious joke to tell, an anecdote, a story. You blow them away. You blow them away because you look so damn good walking into the room. You blow them away because you sing like Christina Aguilera. You blow people away. Center of attention is not something that could just be donated to you. No, you claim it. You take it. So that's that on that. I do not like this whole, like, waking up at the day of your birthday and everyone being like, oh, happy birthday. I hate that. I hate unconsensual center of attentionism. I hate it. If I want to be the center of the attention, then best believe it's because I'm going to be it and I'm going to command the room. I'm going to do that. But no one will give it to me. I don't want it, Don't want something unless I have to fight for it. And for me, as someone who has, like, a high functioning, like, anxiety disorder, just the thought of all these people, like, knowing that they're going to reach out to me on my birthday gives me the heebie-jeebies, gives me the heebie-jeebies. And, like, people who, okay, let's just do this. The people who are, like, still doing the whole Facebook happy birthday thing, which we all did back in the day. You'd see whose birthday it was. You mightn't even know the bitch, but you're friends with them on Facebook. You're sending them out, oh, happy birthday, maybe a cake emoji. It depends. But that's over. That is over. The whole Facebook happy birthday thing, it's had its moment, it's done. No longer should you feel insulted on your birthday if someone, sees it's your birthday and they don't write happy birthday to you or post it on your wall. Ugh, it actually makes me feel sick even talking about it. Or nor should you feel guilty not writing and posting on someone's wall on Facebook. For those of you who are still even on Facebook. You shouldn't feel guilty about not posting on someone's wall because it's over, it's done, it's had its moment. The whole Facebook birthday thing is finito. No one does that anymore. It's over. It had its moment in the sun. It is over. It's dead. I mean, since you all have birthdays, a little mind popper in regards to birthdays. Birthdays haven't always existed as we know them, because you have to think back to early civilization when we didn't have calendars, we didn't really know what was going on. There was a time, every night the sun went down and people thought it was the end of the world. But it was eventually in early civilization when they started, tracking the movements of the moon, the different lunar cycles, what have you, that they were able to kind of, break that down into like a construct of time that humans could understand, like the passing of seasons and what have you. But I guess it goes back to like pagan things, especially with the Greeks and Romans. I think it was like the lunar goddess like Artemis or something. I think the Greeks like used to bake cakes, in offering to her, in the shape of, I guess, moons, and the purpose was they'd stick candles in it to give this like kind of a luminescent kind of glow of a moon. So I guess that's where we get the whole like birthday candle kind of a thing. And it goes back to the Egyptians around 3000 BC. The first kind of recount of a birthday that we know the Egyptians used to do when one of their, I guess, leaders would become a pharaoh, and when they believed in one of their leaders, we'd say Tutankhamun, became pharaoh, that is the day that they became a god. So that's how they'd start celebrating their birthdays. It was the day that their leaders became pharaohs, but when they became gods, when they became part of the divine. So birthdays in their very early instances weren't for the everyday person. They weren't. It wasn't until kind of like around the Roman culture, it was when kind of we had men, prosperous men in society in early Roman civilization, they would start to celebrate their birthdays, and they might have a day named after them in the Roman calendar or what have you. And then eventually it kind of became more accessible. It wasn't just the rich and the nobles that were celebrating their birthday. It was kind of like the everyday man. Women really at this time still weren't really permitted to celebrate their birthday. Not necessarily that if they weren't even permitted, but I don't even think it was a thing. I think it was kind of like, obviously patriarchal society. It was like, well, gals, what do you have to celebrate for? Kind of a thing. And then I think it was around the 12th century when women started celebrating their birthdays as well. And then, of course, the song, the happy birthday to you. Actually someone, I think it was the Hill Sisters, actually wrote that and still own the rights to that happy birthday to you song. And they pull in, don't ask me how you can police the happy birthday song, but their estate, I presume they're dead by now, because I think it was actually, song came about in around 1933. Their estate still pulls in $2 million US dollars a year on, I guess, I don't know what, for people using it. But so their estate is still putting in $2 million a year for people saying happy birthday. I don't know how, but it's happening. So a mind popper that has really kind of jumped up to the fore again in the last couple of weeks is this whole movement of the Free Britney. Free Britney. So if you haven't heard of this, it's this movement done, I guess, carried out by people online, I guess, fans of the singer, pop icon Britney Spears, who claim that there was some very shady shit going on between her and her father. And I had heard this, but apparently every time the movement gains some sort of traction online, the father, Britney's father, has a big legal team that comes in and kind of puts everything down, like removes all the hashtags and that kind of thing. Apparently it's meant to be a big cover up, and apparently Britney is is basically imprisoned within her own house. And my understanding of the whole thing was something happened around the time of Britney Spears' mental breakdown, where her father gained some sort of authority over her finances, her businesses, and potentially her children, in terms of custody and what have you. But I could never really find a whole lot of information until I came across this post in regards to the Free Britney movement. And I'm going to read it out to you guys now, because I always knew that there was something up with Britney Spears. To me, Britney Spears has always been the most, I guess, manufactured girl in pop. She's always been the most manufactured girl in pop. She's almost like something that was created in a laboratory. When I was on the podcast with Jenny and Lindsay, we were doing an episode on conspiracy theories. Jenny talked about, Britney and the whole thing about, is she using her real voice? There's clips out there and it'll be like, okay, this is Britney's real voice and this is the voice that they make her sing in. And it's not necessarily that she sings in that tone, but it's, the effects, the production that make her sound like that. And this post that I'm about to read you actually explains why they've changed her voice. Apparently she's a naturally very deep voice and she's a beautiful singer. And if you look back at in her childhood, you can watch clips of her singing and she does have a very deep voice. Which is completely opposite, completely polarizing to this manufactured, baby voice that we've all come to know Britney for. The kind of thing, kind of a thing, So I'm going to read this to you now, and it explains it in detail. I was shook when I read this. A PSA on Britney Spears and the hashtag Free Britney movement for anyone that needs or wants more information on what is going on with her. It's a fucking rabbit hole. So buckle up. A little backstory first. Britney was a child star, starting at the age of 4 years old on Broadway, and then worked her way to the Mickey Mouse Club, and eventually the solo career we know today. Her career has been on autopilot her entire life. If you look at her music, she's been telling everyone for years she's too controlled and treated as a product. If you listen to the lyrics of most of her hits, examples include Lucky, Overprotected, My Prerogative, Circus, Piece of Me, and Gimme More. Her music videos, social media posts, tour props, and photo shoots regularly show her in a cage or in chains. If anyone has ever seen real videos of her when she was younger, you'd know her real singing voice is very similar to Christina Aguilera's. Her record label didn't like it, as they were both on the Mickey Mouse Club and about to release their debut albums at the same time. Okay, so this first post in this big exposure of what is the Free Britney movement and what's really going on with Britney Spears, they claim that Britney's real voice is actually similar to that of Christina Aguilera. And when you hear them now, if you were to play their music side by side now, you'd think there couldn't be any more opposite. Britney is like, oh yeah, whereas Christina's like, sorry, I had about 5 fags for breakfast. But you know what I mean, two polarizing voices. So this would be mind-blowing to me if Britney actually does sound, her real singing voice sounds a lot like Christina Aguilera's. And the production company, the label, manufactured this baby voice electronically because they didn't want, Britney and Christina, releasing their debut albums around the same time, both being known for working together, the Mickey Mouse Club or what have you, and to have the same sound, because there's very few people that can sing like Christina Aguilera. She's truly the voice of a generation, So was it a point where maybe they thought that Britney wouldn't be able to compete with Christina Aguilera? I don't know. Now, what the post did say, something that I do find a little skeptical, is, when they said if you listen to the lyrics of most of her hits, examples include Lucky, Overprotected, My Prerogative, Circus, Piece of Me, Give Me More, what have you, that she's leaving clues. I don't think so. If she's under the censorship, which we'll get into, I don't know how easily, she's going to be able to, because she's not writing her own songs. Okay, Britney's not writing her own songs. Anyway, let's go on. So they had her voice retrained to sing in the baby voice we all know today, because they believed it would be more iconic and would create a brand and career for her instead of her real voice. It's unhealthy, and it has been destroying her voice over the years, thus why she is known for lip syncing. She wanted to make an acoustic type pop album in 2006 titled Original Doll, and reinvent herself using her real voice. The album was shelved and cancelled once her label realised she would be singing in her real voice. She isn't allowed to sing live because she will either fail terribly or she will have to sing in her deep voice that she isn't known for. Her entire career, she has been treated like a product meant to sell. Now for the real tea. Everyone remembers the 2007 meltdown. Everyone. Leading up to the meltdown, Britney was going through a public divorce, had 2 children under the age of 2 at the time, and that was very much the focus of the public. We all saw her on every magazine cover. We also saw the photo of her with the one with, she had the kids on the lap when she was driving. Go onto YouTube, and once you look up Britney Spears paparazzi, you'll watch her be chased and followed by hundreds of them. even trying to get into the public restroom to photograph her, videotaping her in tears, asking them to leave her alone, and even filming her through windows of an ambulance while she was naked and being taken away for a final mental health hold or what have you. After the public meltdown, shaving her head, locking herself in her home with her children, speaking in a British accent on a regular basis, wearing the infamous pink wig everywhere, and shopping naked, she was hospitalised twice. After the hospitalisation, her father petitioned the courts to be a temporary conservator to her until she was mentally stable and for only 1 year's time. 2 months after her hospitalisation, she did a guest appearance on How I Met Your Mother. 6 months after her hospitalisation, she drops the new Womanizer video and starts to promote her new album Circus with its worldwide tour that grossed 131.8 million. If she's so unwell, why does she start working right away again? Her father, after 1 year, petitioned the courts for conservatorship to become permanent due to her allegedly having early onset dementia in her 20s. It passed and has been that way ever since, for 12 years to be exact. So let me just explain to you what the whole concept of conservatorship is, saying that now Britney's father is in that place. So conservatorship is a legal concept in the United States. A guardian or protector is appointed by a judge to manage the financial affairs and or daily life of another due to physical or mental limitations or old age. A person under conservatorship is a conservatee. So, what has happened is Britney's dad, I guess, according to this post, Britney's father is in that position where he controls her finances, he controls her daily life, okay? Under the guise, he's claimed, she's brought to the courts that Britney Spears has had, in her 20s, early onset dementia. I don't know. Britney Spears has early onset dementia is what they're going for. So it's just mad for me that Britney has, as her father claims, early onset dementia, and this is why he has the conservatorship or whatever, this is why he's now in control of her finances and her daily life, whatever, that she's early onset dementia. Yet when she gets out of hospitalization, he, now the father who's in control of all that, has her promoting the new music video, has her going on a fucking, or has her promoting the Womanizer music video, has her promoting the new album Circus coming out, and then 6 months later after hospitalization is doing the Circus, world tour that brought in, was it the 131 million, what have you. So something's not adding up, because someone who's already on such dementia surely isn't going out and is doing the big worldwide tours and the albums and the videos, 6 months after hospitalization. Something's not adding up. Something is very, very fishy here. And the whole Britney Spears with the English accent thing, I actually completely forgot about that. And not to make light of all the shit that Britney Spears is going through. And you know what? I am inclined to absolutely believe this is what's going on. I believe that she's a prisoner in her own life. But I did look up a clip of the Britney Spears English accent thing, because I completely forgotten about it, which I will play for you now.
Brittany, it's good to see you, Brittany. Brittany, how are you, Brittany?
Please stop it. Leave me alone.
I know, it's fine. She sounds like someone I know. Like Oliver Twist, and I don't know if that is a point of madness or whatever. Remember, it's Britney Spears is definitely not the first person to adopt the fake English accent. Madonna did it, Nicki Minaj did it, so I don't know if that is an inclination towards or proof of her early onset dementia, which I'm just not buying. Anyway, the post continues. Now, for everyone that doesn't understand what that means, let me break it down for you. Britney Spears is now a 38-year-old woman who is not allowed to do the following without her father's permission, or you can legally lock her up in a mental health facility. So the following is a list of things that Britney Spears can't do, without permission from her father. Drive a car, vote, get married, have children, spend her own money, see how her money is being spent, see her children. So she has 30% custody of both of her boys due to her dad assaulting one of her sons. She can't leave her home, hire her own lawyer, have any control over her career, speak about the conservatorship publicly, do interviews that aren't scripted and all final cuts are approved by her father as well, use a cell phone without being monitored, use social media unmonitored, contact anyone without being monitored or having them extremely vetted. Iggy Azalea allegedly had her house searched for drugs top to bottom when they collaborated on a song together. Go shopping, go for a walk, get Starbucks. A conservatorship is meant for people with mental health issues or decaying health, most likely grandparents or people with actual dementia, etc. They are meant for people who literally cannot take care of themselves. If she is so unwell that she isn't mentally capable of doing anything for herself, why is she still working? Since the conservatorship began 12 years ago, she has released 4 albums, done 3 worldwide tours, did a 4-year Vegas residency, was a full-time judge on X Factor, released multiple perfumes and lingerie lines, made about $138 million or so a year. In January last year, Britney was placed in a mental health facility for 3 months after being seen driving her car to an In-N-Out with her boyfriend without permission and for refusing to take the sedating medications her father has doctors prescribing to her to keep her under control. She testified to a judge in documents that she is held there against her will by her father. After it was leaked to the press that she was there against her will, the Free Britney movement picked up speed, causing a judge to open an investigation into the impact and legality her conservatorship has on her life. Britney's mother, Lynn, was also liking and commenting on Free Britney posts, saying she agrees that Britney is trapped by her father. Britney's team had Twitter disabled the Free Britney hashtag and regularly threatens any celebrities that speaks out using the hashtag with a lawsuit if they don't remove their support for the movement. So it goes on to say she's been seen shortly after leaving a hotel through the front door. 99% of celebrities park underground to avoid paparazzi unless they want to be photographed. Stumbling while carrying her shoes and out of it, her team used that moment to justify to the public that she needs the conservatorship. She's not allowed to have any say in the hiring or firing of anyone on her team. Every year she pays $1.1 million in fees for the conservatorship to continue, including paying her father a solid $100,000 plus a year salary and paying a lawyer she isn't allowed to choose. She is allowed an allowance of around $1,500 a week for bills, shopping and essentials. Her net worth is $250 million US. So the post goes on to conclude. So when everyone sees her on Instagram walking up and down her hallways like it's a fashion show, that's all that she's allowed to do. She has never had any control over her own life. I don't care if you personally like her or her music, no one deserves this. All this woman wants is to see her children, make the music she wants to make, and go get a frappuccino in her car. She is a light of sunshine in this world and we must protect her at all costs. So please do not make fun of her. Protect her at all costs. So please do not make fun of her. Support the Free Britney movement and send good vibes her way, you guys. Good vibes. She has a court date this month to review the conservatorship and decide if it's abusive or will it continue to take place. There are so many details in this that I left out and they would make this post entirely much longer than it is. But a simple search will show you what else is out there. Spread this far and wide. Free Britney. You know, if you ask me, something stank up in the Spears manor for sure. Something stank. Something ain't right. Something ain't right. Something's going on with Britney Spears. I 100% believe that. I have no doubt that her father is like an evil puppet master in all this. And the whole Free Britney thing is not something that I'm new to. It is a rabbit hole that I've fallen down many times. And there's a lot. This barely scratches the surface. Hopefully in a couple of weeks, myself and the Icals will get together and make me do a deep dive into the Free Britney movement and what have you. But I'm telling you, if you want to take an early dip into the rabbit hole of the Free Britney movement, it will blow your mind. Something ain't right. Something ain't right. Look into it. What I do want to play for you guys, and it's something that that Jenny played on that episode of the It Gals, which you can go on and check out on their podcast feed. The episode we did about conspiracy theories. Jenny actually, found the clip of, what people believed was the fake voice that Britney Spears used and what her actual real voice is. And how they did this was, Britney Spears uploaded a clip around Christmas time of her singing a song by Elvis Presley. And it's in the typical baby voice fashion, but it sounds super artificial. So what people did was actually slow down the original video that she posted on her Instagram of her singing the song. And they believe that is that's Britney Spears, Britney Spears' real voice is the actual slowed down version of this clip. So I'm going to play this clip for you now. And the first clip that you're going to hear is the original video that Britney posted on her Instagram. And the clip that you will hear after it is the slowed down version and is what people believe is Britney Spears' real voice. Now you're going to hear the slowed down version. Because you see, even when you just listen back to it, the first one sounds clearly edited. You know, it sounds clearly edited. It doesn't sound like Britney's there singing on the spot, which the video depicts. You know, it's just someone, maybe her boyfriend, holding the camera, like walking around her as she's singing in her hallway. But you can hear it. Like, that is something that has some sort of autotune effects on it. It sounds so mechanical and synthetic, almost like an Alvin and the Chipmunk type situation. But then when that video is slowed down to get, I guess, what people perceive as the real voice of Britney Spears, it sounds organic. It sounds real. I hope, if that post was accurate in saying that there is a court case coming up where Britney Spears is going to, you know, potentially be able to fight it again and fight for her freedom, I hope she gets it. I really hope that she gets it. Final mind popper of the episode. I want to talk to you guys about some shady shit that is currently going on in China. And I know, we've been talking a lot about China lately, and it may feel like we're like China bashing or whatever with the whole conspiracy regarded to the coronavirus, which you know I buy into a lot. I absolutely do buy into the conspiracies around the coronavirus a lot. But what I want to talk to you today is about a particular group of people in China called the Falun Gong. The Falun Gong. So let me tell you a little bit about what this is first. It's almost like a religious practice, you know. So the Falun Gong emerged toward the end of China's King Jong-boom. King Jong-boom, not to be confused with the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un. This is King Jong-boom. So this was a period that saw a proliferation of similar practices of meditation, slow-moving energy exercises, and regulated breathing. Falun Gong combines meditation and Qigong exercises with a moral philosophy centered on the tenets of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. The practice emphasizes morality and the cultivation of virtue and identifies as a practice of the Buddhist school, though its teachings also incorporate elements drawn from the taste traditions. Through moral rectitude and the practice of meditation, practitioners of Falun Gong aspire to eliminate attachments and ultimately achieve spiritual enlightenment. So the Chinese government, as the story goes, saw the Falun Gong, you know, this movement in China of kind of spiritual enlightenment. They saw this as a threat to, you know, communism, as a threat to communist China. So what they have done, they have made this practice, you know, illegal. I guess, for lack of a better word. They've banned it. Well, I mean, and the practice, I mean, it's not like it's out harming. It's not like, it's not a disruptive practice by any means, There's no crime involved with this or anything. It's literally a spiritual practice. But for whatever reason, the Chinese saw this as a threat to communism in China. So what they did was arrest all these people, gather up all the practitioners of the Falun Gong movement, and put them into labor camps and into prisons and jails, and for no other reason other than they said this practice was outlawed. Again, you have to remember, China is not necessarily, a democratic society at all by means of we know it. Like, China is not a free country, if even such a thing as a free country exists. So how I came about this movement, and it gets weird, and I'll tell you why. China has a very dark attachment to organ donation. Okay, there isn't a lot of Chinese people that are registered organ donors, because there's a big belief amongst the Chinese people, from what I understand, that the body should be buried intact. For, I guess, reasons of religion and afterlife, the body should be buried intact. So you don't have a lot of Chinese people signing up to be organ donors. As far as I remember from reading, it's about 1 in 1 million people that register as organ donors. 1 in 1 million people. 1 in 1 million people in China register as organ donors. And you have to imagine that the massive population that China have. Of course, there's obviously going to be a massive deficit of organs, required for people who need transplants. So what the Chinese government have been doing is using, because China still has the death penalty. So what China have been practicing up until 1984, they said that they stopped it then, was they were using the organs from prisoners on death row, and they would extract their organs, once they'd been executed, and then those organs would be used for people, going into the hospitals who needed a transplant for kidneys, hearts, lungs, what have you, okay? Which already posed the question, were people being jailed innocently? Were they being executed, even if they were innocent, to harvest their organs? So I came across this Twitter thread by the Op Death Eaters, they're called, which is a subsidiary of the Anonymous organization. And you'll know Anonymous, they're kind of like the group of international hackers, and they recently released or exposed Epstein's Black Book to us. You might have heard of them most recently, of the work that Anonymous does. So anyway, I came across this thread. The thread begins, and they say, the Op Death Eaters say that China began allowing organ removal from executed prisoners in 1984. So over the past 36 years, this practice has expanded to the point where it's running as like an international industry, extracting organs, tissues, and collagen from human farms. So China is basically put in place human farms for the extraction of organs, tissues, and collagens, what have you. So the whole thing is that the people that they've imprisoned, the Falun Gong, the practitioners of Falun Gong, who have been imprisoned, and there are massive numbers of them, have been put into these camps. Okay, not necessarily for any crimes that they've committed. Like, as far as we know, all these people are innocent of and free of crime. But what China has been doing is harvesting this group. They have created a human farm, and the practitioners of Falun Gong are killed on demand. They're killed on demand so that when someone comes and needs a transplant, they'll take one of these prisoners who are, again, innocently imprisoned, and and how they'll select the prisoners to die is, okay, someone will come forward, okay, I need a heart transplant, so they run tests on all their prisoners. These people who are innocently imprisoned, they run tests on all of them. So if, say, this guy A, who's a prisoner, he matches up so that he would be able to, donate his lungs to this, person, this consumer, then guy A will be brought to a room, he'll be executed and killed on demand, because he will line up to be someone whose lungs would match up with the consumer. So he'll be killed, and he'll have his lungs taken and given and the body disposed of, burnt, what have you. The Chinese government refused to give any autopsy report. They refused to give the body back for burial. Usually they'll send it straight away to cremation, what have you. So all these people have been locked up in China, and China has created human farms. So now that there is a demand, because you see the organ donation or the organ transplant business in China has now gone on to become a multi-billion-dollar operation, where you have like people traveling from abroad, like people traveling from the States over now, who will go and be like, okay, I need, a transplant or whatever here, like, and they'll get their bloods done or whatever. They'll run their bloods then in the database of all these human farms that they have over in China, okay? And they'll find a match. And even though, again, like I said, these people are innocently imprisoned, they'll find the match. That person will be taken, will be executed, just so their organs can be harvested, if that makes sense. So this big whole thing going on. And China is not like the only country doing this, like, don't get me wrong. But it is the only country in which the trade is openly state-sponsored. And it's on a scale unmatched anywhere else. So to give you an idea of these innocent human farms, these people who are murdered to have their organs harvested in China, to give you an idea of what it will go for. Because the waiting time in China, once you're coming over as a consumer for a transplant, it's astronomically low compared to other places. Like if you wanted, like, say, a liver transplant or a heart transplant or a kidney transplant, say in the United States, you could be waiting anywhere from 2 years to 4+ years. In China, if you're going over for a kidney, for a liver transplant, what have you, you could be waiting days, maximum weeks, to get this transplant. And it's absolutely unheard of. And you have all these like human rights organizations looking at these statistics being like, why, how are you able to provide this when, first of all, we can see on record how many people in China are registered as organ donors, and the number is astronomically low to the massive amount of organs that you're able to supply. It's not adding up at all. And China, adamantly denies any involvement in this, but please, we know better than to believe a government's denial, We don't fuck like that. But so to give you an idea of what these people who are on these human farms, these people who've been kidnapped by the Chinese government, what their organs go for a US consumer, I'm going to tell you. So your corneas, the eyes, for a transplant, you will get that for $30,000 US. For your lungs, the lungs go for around $150,000 US. For the heart goes for around $130,000 US. The liver will go for around $98,000 US, and the kidneys will go from around $62,000. In this thread done by the anonymous subsidiary, they talk about different case studies. Like, for example, in 2001, a Chinese doctor, told the US Congress that he'd harvested organs from executed prisoners in China and removed the skin from a man who had not yet died. He removed skin and corneas from the bodies of more than 100 executed prisoners in China between 1989 and 1995. Obviously after China said that they had stopped all these practices. But it's still going on, and it's not even that. But from the human farms, there are reports that the cadavers, so the corpses, from these human farms, are actually then being sold as well. So even the remaining corpses are being sold as cadavers to different countries around the world, which then go on to be filled by plastic and are put in, I guess, like, like museums, like the body exhibits, and what have you. And another case study, the Dead Eaters, so the subsidiary of Anonymous, they talk about a case study in 2005 where a Chinese cosmetics company is using skin harvested from the corpses of executed convicts to develop beauty products for sale in Europe. So China can manufacture, right, the same human collagen for less than 5% of what it costs in the Western world. So all these beauty products that we are using now, and we may not even know, okay, I got the Chanel Hydra Nutra in front of me, okay, it's like 70 euro for a little pot for this collagen face mask, okay, which I've been using and I like, what have you, but we don't know how much of this technology, the science, the collagen has been used from these Chinese human farms. We just don't know, because like we said, of course everyone's going to buy in from China if China's able to provide collagen for 5% of the cost of everywhere else in the Western world. You better believe that there's no big business out there that isn't going to China for this. So in the report they say, Peter Butler, a consultant plastic surgeon and government advisor, said there had been rumours that Chinese surgeons had performed hand transplant using hands from executed prisoners. One transplant centre was believed to be adjacent to an execution ground. In quotations, I can see the utility of it, as they have access and no ethical objection, he said. The main concern would be infective risk. So it's almost like in America where we see the privatized prison systems, where people who are being arrested are almost like a currency. So it's why we see so much of the African American population in incarceration. It's because the prisons have been privatized. So the amount of people you're getting into prison suddenly becomes more money. In the same way in China with these human farms, or these, executions, if you want to call them, whereas people are being sentenced or being guilty for oftentimes crimes that they didn't commit and are being executed at a convenient time to when there is a demand for their organs so that they can be harvested. Like, a lot of what is going on in China right now is nothing more than human livestock, human organ farms. So in part of an investigation into this, into the I guess the humanitarian crimes by the Chinese government, especially in terms of the people who practice Falun Gong, what people were doing, investigators were doing, they were calling up these big Chinese hospitals and inquiring, obviously people from abroad, inquiring about coming for transplants. And I'll read the transcript, the short transcript of one conversation one investigator had with the doctor in one of these hospitals. I want to know how long the patients have to wait for a liver transplant. Dr. Dai. And that's D-A-I. Dr. Dai, the supply of organs we have every day. We do them every day. Okay. Interviewer. We want fresh ones, alive ones. Dr. Dai. They're all alive. All alive. Interviewer. How many liver transplants have you done? Dr. Dai. We have done 400 to 500 cases. Your major job is to come. Prepare the money, enough money, and come. Interviewer. How much is it? Dr. Dai. If everything goes smoothly, it is about 150,000 to 200,000. Interviewer. How long do I have to wait? Dr. Dai. I need to check your blood type. If you come today, I may do it for you within 1 week. Interviewer. I heard some come from those who practice Falun Gong, those who are very healthy. Dr. Dai. Yes, we have. I can't talk clearly to you over the phone. Interviewer. If you can find me this type, I am coming very soon. Dr. Dai. It's okay. Please come. And the thing is, you guys, right, with the practitioners of Falun Gong, they don't smoke, they don't consume alcohol, they have a very healthy diet and very healthy lifestyle full of meditation and all that, very similar to a lot of Buddhist practices. So comparatively, the practitioners of Falun Gong, compared to a lot of Chinese people, are extremely healthy individuals. And that is why that they are being harvested, because they are healthy, they are healthy organs. So it is just crazy. This is going on in China, where people still to this day can go over. And I remember there was a big report in Australia a couple of years ago in the Australian media, where someone wrote about going to China for their transplant, okay? And they knew, the person going over, they knew that their donor was being shot and executed the day that they went over. And it was a black market. It was a black market deal. So not only is the government involved in it, but now small, little smaller time criminals, I guess, are also getting involved in the black market. Whereas, so in this report, this person had, paid for their transplant and was going over, and this person was being executed. Not through the prison system or whatever. This person was just being executed that day, and that person knew that going over, that the donor was going to be shot that day. Because you see, with transplants, you have a matter of hours, really. You know, no more than 10 hours for most. I think it's like 8 for a heart, where the living tissue has to be transplanted, obviously taken from the corpse, and then, you know, transplanted into the host body, I guess. So that is why you should not be able to get transplant on demand. Because if you're getting transplant on demand, it's fishy, because it insinuates that there are people to be ready to be killed like that when you are ready, you know? So I'm telling you, and this is a lot deeper than what I went into now. There's documentaries on this and what have you. But the people, the Falun Gong people of China, are being persecuted, are currently living in human farms. So by the mid-2000s, in China, you could see that over 1 million practitioners of Falun Gong had now entered the labour camps, the prison systems, what have you. Over 1 million people, the Falun Gong, who would never see the light of day again. And like I mentioned earlier, with the whole plasticization of the cadavers, and like, you know, like I've said, like Body World's a place that I've been to, in Amsterdam. It has a link back. All these, the Body World places, the Body Works, what have you, all has links back to China. And I'll tell you about this. And as well, for the record, a Chinese retailer will sell one of these plastinated bodies for around $21,000 US. So believe me, there is money in the dead body. There's money in the cadavers. But I'll tell you a little kind of brief story of the Body Worlds, as we know. So Body Worlds obviously was created by Van Hodgens and Bodies the Exhibition. The latter show, he writes, is managed by Premier Exhibitions, a US entertainment company, but the bodies are provided by Professor Su Hongjing. According to Gottman, the inventor Von Hagens, whatever, opened a plastination factory in China in 1999 and hired Su as his general manager. Later, Su secretly set up his own factory and the men became rivals, leading Su to set up the Bodies exhibition. After a man went on ABC's 2020-2008 to accuse Su of using executed Chinese prisoners, Premier placed a sign at the entrance to their exhibitions admitting that the bodies they were used were received by the Chinese Bureau of Prisons, and the Premier cannot identify or cannot independently verify that the bodies are not persons who are incarcerated in Chinese prisons. As for Von Hagen's exhibit, he had closed his Chinese factory in 2007, tearfully told 2020 he had unilaterally cremated all his Chinese specimens, is what he said, and replaced them with Caucasians who had legally donated their bodies to science. So, potentially, the Body World exhibits that we've gone to, if you've gone to the one in Amsterdam, I'm sure they did like a touring one in Ireland, and I'm sure that they're all over the globe. If you've been to one of them, there is, a very good chance that the bodies that we have seen are bodies, potentially from the Falun Gong, people from the human farms. And, it's very hard to talk to China about all of this because it's an independent country, it's very far removed, and it does not welcome, any kind of outside governance or what have you. But now you know that one of the dark secrets going on in China at this moment is that there is, unequivocally, I don't consider this a conspiracy or what have you. This is just a mind popper, okay, something to sit with. But currently in China, there are practicing human farms. Human farms where people are killed on demand for their organs. Innocent people. If you want to know any more about the topics that we discussed today, from Free Britney Spears to the Chinese human farms, be prepared to fall down a rabbit hole, because these are both dark, things that I have barely scratched the surface of. Very little, that I can delve into within the space of an hour's episode here on the Mind Poppers podcast. There is a whole lot more to learn. So if you are so inclined, feel free to fall down the rabbit hole. Until next time, I am your host of the Mind Poppers podcast, Adam O Reilly. Stay woke.